A more chunks TV production.
People would talk to me about Christ over the years, but I'd be like, you do that when you're old. You don't really do that when you're young. Yeah, I want to have fun and stuff. I don't know, I was just trying to find myself in everything. My dad left maybe when I was about 10. I thought that led to a lot of like abandonment within myself, looking for love in every place.
And when we do fall, what are we feeling? Is it a fear of God? Or is it a fear of people that we now feel shame about?
At a point, I thought, he can't use me now. I was like, how's he going to use me? Because look at the story.
Chunks of life, chunks of fashion, chunks of entertainment, chunks of relationships. So give me some more, give me some more, give me some more. Give me some more, give me some more, give me some more.
Hi guys, welcome to the Bo Chunk Show, where we inspire and educate you to live well and thrive in your faith, career and relationships. And we are here with an amazing guest. Her name is Cassie Amelier.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually excited. I'm usually a bit nervous, but I feel a bit excited today.
That's
so
good.
thank
How's
you.
your day been?
It's been good. I feel like I've been to Timbuktu and back, but apart from that, really good.
Thank you for great, because you've told me everywhere you've been today. So thank you so much for gracing the show with your presence.
okay.
And thank you guys for tuning in once again. And just before we go on, I'm saying in every episode that currently I'm not uploading weekly. So in case you're wondering, if you watch the show, why is Mo not posting on a weekly basis? It's just the season of my life right now requires me to be more hands-on with different things. So I'm not able to be as hands-on with creativity at the moment in terms of the Mo Chunk Show, like long form content. I'm sure you've been seeing like on socials, I'm still very active with the short form because that doesn't take as much of my time. But just to keep you guys in the loop, but the plan is that every time I do show up, I make sure it's of quality.
Yeah.
And of course, pleasing to God as the first and foremost foundation. But ultimately, I want to make sure that when I do show up, it's of quality and it's impacting lives as well. So we have another amazing guest in the building today. So just try and, keep that notification on so that you do know when I do upload, as it's not as frequent as it used to be before. But thank you so much for...
No, you're so welcome.
The first segment of the show is called Best In.
Okay.
And this is the part of the show where we talk about our favorite things from the week.
Okay.
So it could be like best in fashion,
Okay.
best in podcasts, best in events,
Okay.
best in anything.
Okay.
So what's been your favorite thing from the week?
Best in. There is actually a podcast kind of YouTube that I've been watching, but what's annoying is I'm going to forget the man's name. I'll probably have to tell you after. And
That's
then,
fine.
Yeah,
I'll just put it in the description.
Yeah, he talks about, it's a lot to do with, it's not about finance, but it's kind of his journey.
Okay.
And I didn't know he was a believer when I first started watching it. I just keep seeing, actually, I did know he was a believer. I just kept seeing his, what's it called? His titles on YouTube. And it kept grabbing me.
Okay.
But I was like, yeah, I don't know. I never really heard of him. But I tuned in to listen to what he was saying. And it was just so spot on to my season. And he was just talking about the Bible principles, and just the fact that most people even use the Bible principles, but it's a lot to do with like finance and faith, and he, like, his journey, he was like a cleaner in 2020, and then in this year he's made 485 million. But it's really the way he breaks down the word, for me in this season is really good. So I feel like that's been
amazing.
Pulling.
Best in podcast.
Yeah, best in podcast.
Best in podcast. So mine is best in end of summertime enjoyment.
Oh.
And that's because, like, just as I was saying off camera, September has been so full.
Yeah.
Like, I've had event after event. I went to Deji Rachel's wedding.
Lovely.
Deji and David's wedding. It's not just the lady that gets married. Deji and David's wedding, and it was part 1 and 2, so Nigerian traditional wedding, and then of course the church wedding as well. And my mom also had an event at her church last week as well. So I've been like up and down.
So it's been full.
It's been very full.
Yeah.
I also attended the I Said What I Said podcast live show. So they're like 2 girls from Nigeria, and they tour occasionally in like the UK. So that was really, really nice. Weddings have been a highlight of my September. They've just been so like full of joy. And, you know, they're just my girl. Yeah. Especially when you love the person that's getting married as well.
To see it, right?
Yeah. So it's more about their joy than the concept of wedding in and of itself. But yeah, mine is best in end of summertime enjoyment. You guys let us know at home as well what's been your best in for this last week. Let us know in the comment section down below.
Can I change my best in?
Of course you can change your best in. You can even add. You can have as many as you want.
No, yesterday actually I went to Premier Gospel Awards.
Okay.
And I feel like that's been because I wasn't going to go. I was like, oh, no, I don't really want to go.
Yeah.
And then I went, and I just feel like God really used it to speak to me. He really used it to speak to me and remind me of like, for a long time I haven't spoken, even though everyone knows I love God, I love Jesus. I don't feel like I speak about it like I used to on my public platform. Yeah. But yesterday just inspired me. A guy called Rebella, who's a rapper, came on stage, and the things he was saying just inspired me to not just follow God and follow Jesus and know that in my heart, but also to continue to share it.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah.
To share the gospel message.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good. We always love those refreshers.
Yeah.
I think that's why those events and conferences and workshops are good, to just gather believers together and just refresh.
Refresh and just remind. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So thank you for sharing your best in with me, and you guys at home, share your best in as well. And so now we're going to go into Deeper with Mo, where we get to know you a bit better. Yeah. We get to know your story, where you're from, and, you know, your journey thus far.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm sure if I don't waffle too much, but yeah, I'm ready.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So this is Yappa Central. You're the podcast, so you can waffle if you want to. Okay, so my first question to you, Cassie, is do you prefer Cassie or Cassie Amelier?
Cassie.
Cassie, yeah? Okay, so my first question to you is, could you please kindly give us an insight into your background, where you grew up, and how it's shaped you as a person?
Yeah. So I grew up in South London.
Okay.
Where I grew up, it's oval, but most people probably would be more, like, if I said Brixton, it's like not too far from Brixton. Okay. And I moved around a lot. So that was, I feel like, I always say I grew up there because I probably spent majority of my years there, around South London. So I'd say between the ages of about 0 to 12, I had moved probably about 7 times by then. And then from the ages of like 12 till 20, it's like another 10. And I feel like that shaped me in the sense of not really having much belonging, because I felt like I never really had a place I called home. So I feel like I used to I don't know, I was just trying to find myself in everything. My dad left maybe when I was about 10. And I think that led to a lot of, now when I look back, probably before I wouldn't have really said this, but I feel that led to a lot of like abandonment within myself. Just trying to find myself in so many different ways. I feel like maybe some good parts was that my mum always made me feel like we had the best, and I don't think I realised we didn't have the best until later on. So like when I was young, I thought, I'm rich. I thought I do like all the things that I'm doing, like my mum would take us to like the West End, and I'd think, look, this is amazing. And it's not until like my later years when I went to secondary school, I started to realise, okay, maybe I'm not rich, and there's people that are more well off than me. And that's when I think I started to realise my childhood may have not been as great as I thought it was. You only kind of know what something is when yeah, I don't know. I think it's what your experience is. So
Right.
growing up, I didn't think my experience was necessarily bad.
Okay.
Maybe as well because of the area I was from. There's a lot of people going through a lot of things. So for me, I thought, oh, I'm living a bit better than that. So it must mean that I'm living great at the time when I was young. But yeah, when I got into like secondary school, I realised, oh, I've only been on like one holiday with my family. And that was again later on. And maybe I can't afford all of this kind of stuff. And the thing is, my mum always made sure, one thing again, that we were always dressed and amazing, looking amazing. But then that would be on the expense of paying the rent and stuff like that. So that's why we would move around a lot. So I think my childhood shaped me in the way I was a bit confused, didn't really know where I kind of belonged, always felt like I was on the go, always moving. And that just carried on into my teens. I just took it with me, if that makes sense, because of what I'd learned and picked up. Another thing I'd say is I was always a person that everyone would come and talk to. I was always that person. So from a young age, I feel like I was always talking to older people. I would be 10 speaking to like a 15-year-old about relationship problems when I hadn't been in a relationship.
Yeah.
Or like my mum, she asked me if she should break up with my dad. And now when I think about it, I'm like, what did I know? Why did you ask me that?
Huh? Yeah.
Now, like, but I'm saying it's things that at the time I thought, yeah, I'm wise. And she would always say, like, you're so wise. And I remember I told her, yeah, break up with him. But at the time, all I was thinking is, oh, this will be exciting. And we will move and we'll move into it. I had a child brain. So I wasn't thinking of it in the grand scheme of things. And then I remember when he left, I was crying. And she was like, but you said that you didn't, like, I should leave. And I was like, yeah. So I think, I think a lot, when I look now at the way I am in terms of trying to help, I feel like it's all the way from there. Like I've always wanted to be a helper, if that makes sense, or be advice, or so.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
First of all, I empathize with you about, what I'm picking up from your story is a lot of instability.
Yeah.
So I empathize with you, around the lack of stability that you experienced as a child. But also you mentioned that your father left at a certain age. And it also sounds like, I'm no therapist, I'm no psychologist, but just from the little lingo that I know, it sounds like you were kind of parentified as a child.
Yeah.
So you were almost having a relationship with your mom where she would have that with her girlfriends and women that were like her age.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do empathize with you, and I'm sorry that you went through some of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this to get, deep so
yeah.
quickly.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say with my story sometimes.
But yeah, I'm really sorry that you went through that.
Yeah.
But also I'm hearing some positives.
Yeah.
Even through the hardship that you may not have recognized as a child, because a lot of people with traumatic backgrounds, they're going through it like la-di-da, like the way you described.
I thought it was great.
They're going through like la-di-da, but not until you start encountering other people and other families and seeing that,
maybe that wasn't quite normal, literally. That.
Yeah. So you're mentioning that that's where like this helper personality type came from.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to explore that deeper.
Yeah. You'll see it
will
throughout
come
the
through.
story.
Yeah. It will come through. But that's very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to go into, I guess, what does align with like how you grew up as well. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with God. Like, what's your salvation story? Because I've begun to find that very interesting, to find out where did people meet God, and also like how did that, as well as their nurture, shape them.
Yeah. To be fair, I met God every week in Brixton or at different points in Croydon. When someone would come and minister the gospel to me, I'd probably cry a bit. They'd do the salvation prayer, and then I'd go on with my day and just go back to my normal lifestyle, whatever that was. But I think my mum sent me to church, but she didn't believe in Jesus.
What age?
So
what age was this?
This was about, let's say, so when I moved to, so I probably would have been about 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 7, 8. I went to church for a couple of years. Maybe I was about 8. I can't remember the exact age. But yeah, it was around 8. And I would go to Sunday school, so they would come and pick me up, and it was like a church in Camberwell. I would get on a bus. But when I would go, I wouldn't really be listening or paying attention, because again, at home, my mum would tell me Jesus isn't real, and we don't believe in that, and we don't believe in their Jesus. We believe in God. But then she sent me to church. So it was always conflicting to me. And it was like, yeah, like you don't believe in that stuff. So I always would go, but I wouldn't really like take it in. But I was taking it in. Right. Does that make sense? Yes. So I would take in especially the praise and worship. That was always my thing. Like I'd always take in the worship, and I wouldn't really be listening. That was like my first kind of encounter. Then I got a bit older. I started going to another church that was near my house. And when I'd go there, they'd talk about like trick-or-treating and doing all this sort of stuff. And I'd go there, and then I'd go trick-or-treating anyway. Like I would always go to church, but it was just...
on serious.
It was just like somewhere I would be sent.
Yeah.
And then, or like a friend's parent would invite me and be like, oh, come to this church, and I'd go. And then again, in my teenage years, I went to that's why I went to the church, because I was going to a Christian school. My mum wanted me to get into this Christian school. So we went to the church, and I used to be able to sign the form to say that you've been coming to this church. And then I went to the Christian school, and we'd sing. I joined the choir. And that was another, but again, I didn't know Christ. I just did what people said to do, if that makes sense. I didn't really take it seriously. And people would talk to me about Christ over the years, but I'd be like, you do that when you're old. You don't really do that when you're young. Like, I want to have fun and stuff. And then I got to, I'd say about 16, looking for love in every place. But in Christ. And I was in a relationship that was really toxic, and I ended up moving out. I was living in like a accommodation where like because I was still young, I was 16, so I was living somewhere where like they talk to you about how you're spending your money and try to help you in those ways. And then a friend invited me to church. 2 friends invited me to church at the same time, and I was like, my life is so it's going downhill, so like, maybe I should try the church. But then I was like, actually no. I carried on with the same lifestyle for maybe like another 6 months, and I tried to take my own life. And I think at that pivotal point is where I was like, this is bad, and it can't get worse, so why wouldn't I just go and try just go to church? I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, that was my thoughts, is that it's already bad, so if I go here and don't like it, I don't like it. And then I went, and I think the same thing that happens to most people when you go, and then it feels like the pastor's just talking to you, and everything the pastor said was just like, oh my gosh. And I always say I didn't understand Jesus, because obviously I'd blocked him out for so long, but I understood the love. I felt love. And then I felt a love on a deep level that I've never felt before. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to give my life. And I said the sinner's prayer that day, and since then, that's been my journey from there.
Amazing. And what age did the final, like, of course we continue to surrender, but I mean the initial...
100%. I was 19.
Okay.
19, yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
19.
So what I'm picking from your story is that I think I've heard this before, like a lot of parents, even if they don't believe, they know that the church is a good place for your child to be for various reasons. Yeah. Getting
maybe
into
morals,
school, morals, so they don't go off the radar, this type of, like I've heard various versions of that story where maybe even the dad or the mom may not be a believer, but they'll push for the other parent to take the children there, knowing that it will kind of shape them to be a good human. But I wonder where the disconnect comes from, in a sense of, I don't believe in God or in the God that I'm sending you to, but I believe in what he can do in your life. That's so interesting.
It's really, because when I think about my mum, sometimes I think, especially my mum, she's passed now, but she would have been like 60-ish. So I feel like for her, I think a lot of them witnessed or maybe came up in a church time where it was maybe more judgmental. More, again, looking for identity. I feel like my mum didn't want to identify with what she would call a white Jesus. She wanted to identify with blackness, with culture, with this sort of, so it's like she'd always be like, oh, that's their white Jesus, or like she'd always have something like that to say. But again, I think maybe like you're saying, the morals of it, and sometimes for me personally, I always used to think maybe my mom just needed time, space, and there was somewhere where we could go that she knew maybe was, like you said, a good place for us. So
did she ever become a Christian?
She did.
She
by
did.
The grace of God.
Amazing.
Just before she passed. So
amazing,
thank God,
amazing. So that's really an amazing insight into your background. I want to kind of jump a little bit ahead into your journey as now a creative. Like, you are into music, you're into fashion. I'm sure there's more that you're into creatively, because
So
us
much.
creatives were very multifaceted.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey as a creative. What inspired you to become like a content creator? We call it content creator now. What inspired you to jump into music, fashion, and all the different facets that you kind of flow in?
I think it's something. So music. My dad is a musician. He's done. Like, he came here on a #1 record on like Top of the Pops. So he's from Jamaica. He came here on that. Music, something that I just hear in my house. He plays the guitar. So he played that to us. He sings. He plays the piano. He does so much. So that's just something that was in my house. He's also an artist. So he used to do drawings in West End. So of an evening, he'd leave and go and draw people, you know, like those caricatures. He used to do that. And then he got an art degree, and now he's like an art teacher. So art, creativity is just something that was around in my house, in my household. And as I got a little bit older, like I said, I was in the choir, and then as I got a little bit older, and I started coming to the church. When I started coming to church, I don't think I really thought about my creativity in that way. I knew I could kind of sing. I knew I maybe kind of dance. I knew it was always a little, like I could kind of. I thought I was be behind the scenes because I'd studied media. So I was getting a degree in film and TV. So I always thought, I'd be doing something behind the scenes. So I never really thought about it for myself. But when I think back now, I think that's probably just due to insecurity, due to me not seeing the value in myself. But still wanting that, but thinking I can't achieve it, so why not just do it behind the scenes? And then I got into ministry. To be honest, my thought was, as long as I find stability, that was all I really wanted. So I didn't really think about all the other stuff and the gifts and stuff that I had. But I just started doing stuff within this church. And I think that's where I started to see my gifts. So it would be like, I don't know, I'll just be singing, and then someone would be like, oh, you can sing. And I'd be like, me? Oh. I would be like, oh, okay. And then they'd say, oh, join the choir. And then, I don't know, it would be like, oh, you dress. And I'd be like, oh, me. And then it's just like it just started to come out more. And then I started to want to like maybe do YouTube or do some stuff on Instagram. But anytime I would go to start, it'd be like 1 like. I don't think anyone really no cared. Like 1 like, 1 this. And but I just kept carrying on doing stuff within ministry. And then I got married and the wedding went viral. And from that is where I saw, okay, I went from like 800 followers to like 10,000 overnight.
Hey, we love love. Hey, we love love. Hey, gosh.
To 10,000. So from there, it's like, that's what sparked it. As in, okay, now, I don't know if I didn't do that on purpose, but it happened. And now I had this platform. So then what am I going to do with it? And then I was like, and like I said, I'd wanted to do YouTube. I'd wanted to speak out. I'd been doing things. I was in a singing group and all these different things. And I thought, I want to do this. So it was that's where it all began.
Right. So you wanted to do it, but it wasn't going anywhere.
No.
And then God basically brought a catalyst. And that's what I would describe it as, a catalyst. And then that announced you to the world, and then you carried on. And
then I just carried on,
And have you continued to leverage on that? And do you continue to make content now? How's the journey going? Is it positive?
So I feel like most people always say social media is a very strange place. And it's like, when I say that, I mean, I think sometimes it's easy to lose yourself.
Right.
Because again, like I said, I got put on this platform because of the wedding, because of the love, because of this sort of stuff. And at the time I was in full-time ministry. There was so much I was doing, and that's what I put forward. And I'm a sort of person that really wear my heart on my sleeve. So I don't think I was necessarily curating content. I wasn't sitting down and being like, I was just showing my life.
Just sharing
and sharing.
Yeah.
And then I went through a divorce.
Yeah.
And I think there is where I just lost myself, if that makes. I feel like I was at that moment, I was like, who am I? And I guess I saw social media for not what it is, but more in the sense of it's really fickle. I feel like when you're doing great, or when it appears to be great, everyone will clap for you. And I always say this, they'll clap for you, and they will clap you off a mountain. But if the moment you're not doing so great, then it's like, you'll see the way people would just be like, oh yeah, like they would just turn, if that makes sense at times. So for me, it was like yin and yang. I don't know. There was like one moment everyone was praising me, the next moment no one, like, it's like, who's she? Oh, she's divorced. And that's how it felt. And not necessarily, I won't say that that's maybe what people was trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if the devil jumped on it and he knew what I was going through, and that it's like the shame of it. So
latched
it's like,
onto the
so he latched onto that, and it made it feel like it more.
Yeah.
And obviously I was losing, like, even to
you
this
lost
day,
followers?
I was losing followers, like, daily. But I don't know, again, I changed. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you think about it this way, I'm putting out content that's family, that's marriage, that's like, in almost, I think, in people's eyes, the perfect picture. So she went through this story, and then she's married, and it was so beautiful, and she got a child, and she's traveling the world, and all of that came with it. And then now she's divorced, and it doesn't seem like she's maybe doing the things of God anymore. And so maybe it was just like a disconnect for them, like, oh, what's she doing? Oh no, I don't want to follow. But yeah, all of that kind of just, that journey was a lot. Yeah,
that is
journey.
really interesting.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that you added in there that you changed as well.
Yeah.
'Cause I think sometimes in these kind of scenarios, it's very easy to take the victim route, and not kind of analyze, on a more, not positive, but just when you're trying to be open-minded and you're trying to analyze all angles, you know, and you're now saying, okay, actually, as a result of, I also changed. So maybe my followers, or some of the people that unfollowed me, did not resonate with the new person
and also understanding that that's okay. I think that's, you know, like, I think that's a place where I got to, like, that's you can't be what people want you to be.
Yep.
You have to be who God's called you to be. And that, I think I've come to realize it, like, with life, obviously, we have the mountains and we have the valleys. And understanding that you can't always be on the mountaintop. And my journey, sometimes I feel like, because of how I was before, now to be, I don't know, I felt like to have it look like I lost so much. But at the same time, I knew what God was doing in me.
Yeah.
But then again, like I said, I stopped speaking about the things of God. I didn't feel like, it was just, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like, which is, because I heard something yesterday, which is interesting, but I didn't feel like anyone would want to hear my words now. Because it was like, now when I think about it, I idolized what I think the people were idolizing, as in marriage, and there's nothing wrong with loving to be married. Obviously God, it's a beautiful thing, but I think anything that we put above God, then becomes an idol. And I idolize my titles rather than what God was doing in me. So when I lost what I thought was the titles, it was like, I felt like, oh, why would anyone want to hear what a divorcee has to say? Why would anyone want to hear about my journey of Christ? Because in my head, it was like only the peaks people want to hear. But that's not true. Now I know that. Now I'm like, no, but if we don't understand, even in scripturally, there's the highs and the lows, and that's all part of it. And sometimes people want to go on that journey for you to help them understand also that even if you're at a valley right now, there'll be another mountaintop. But for me at the time, it was like, oh no, no one's gonna want to hear, and
Yeah.
now I'm gonna go and do my own, like, just my own journey with Christ.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. I think you were also going for a rough time as well. So, like, no divorce is easy. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether it was amicable or
Or
whatever
not.
it may be. Like, it's literally like the ripping apart of the two that became one.
100%.
So I can imagine that must have been tough for you. So I do
Yeah.
empathize with you for going through that. And I hope that you're okay now
Yeah.
and feeling a bit more, especially with your calling, because that's such a big area where you said was linked to.
It was so linked.
Yeah, it was linked to what you now describe as what you consider to be something great, but you were also idolizing it as well as the audience.
Yeah.
Maybe subconsciously.
Yeah.
I do think we're relational beings. And it is something that we place value on.
Of course.
Even sometimes beyond money and fame.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but most people want a little family.
Of
So
course.
naturally we're gonna, when someone has, I always say, like, social media, the things that blow up on social media, and someone in my comments last week, the last
Yeah.
episode, said I talk too much. So I'm trying to be conscious.
No. Listen, social media is gonna tell you everything. You just gotta be you.
I talk too much, but I want to share as well now. But I've noticed that social media likes aspirational content.
Of course.
So whether that's love, money, stability, the best looking houses, the best looking cars, just anything that's like, ooh, like, I want to get there someday.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
I understand that.
Yeah.
I think it would be silly. That's what I'm saying. Even when everything went on, and I just, like I said, I analysed, it's like, of course. And it was a beautiful story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I completely understand why anyone would be like, that's amazing. And even for me, like I said, I've explained my upbringing and my home life and everything, and I guess that to me was like, I've got my family, I'm
that's
stable
deep.
now,
Yeah,
I've got these things, and I'm doing this for Christ, and like I said, I always say the devil doesn't come in a way of like, hi, I'm the devil. He never comes like that. He comes in ways like, he just creeps in. And if you're not discerning, if you're not prayerful, and sometimes when you get to a certain place where God, like, you've like prayed for, and like, God, please give me this, and then he gives it to you, and then you get to a certain place, you have to be like, like when the Bible says, stand well, lest you fall. Like, I just feel like when you get to a certain place, yes, amen, you're here, but make sure you remember who gave it to you. And who gets the glory, and not let the glory get to you and you think, yeah, I've arrived, and look at that. Yeah, it's just really deep, to be honest. But at the same time, now look at, like, I'm so grateful for it. Does that make sense? That's even why I'm able to come and share now. Whereas before, anyone would be like, I'll do a podcast. I'm like, no. But now it's like, I can see what God was doing with everything. I can see that, okay, he was teaching me a lot about myself. And like I said, what I was idolizing and how I was seeing things and how I was letting social media almost govern me, and what I would, like, that's why I said to you, don't listen to social media, because they will tell you go left, and you'll be going left for them, and you'll be going right, and then
again, you won't like that one too. And
then by the time you look, you've lost who you really are. And what God is even calling you to do. So I think I get that people unfollowed, and maybe it's because I was trying to find myself, and that's the reality. And sometimes in that, not everyone wants to follow, so it's fine.
This actually reminds me of something my mentor was saying to me recently, that a lot of people, sometimes we pray for more, but sometimes in God's infinite mercy, he keeps you small, because he knows that very thing that you're praying for will actually swallow you up, and then the fall will be great as well. So it's actually in his mercy.
It's in his mercy, and that's the thing.
That he's not giving you that thing.
Yet. And the thing is, I think immature Cass in the things of God would be like, oh, give it to me. Why? I can handle it. We always think we can handle everything.
We always do. Yeah.
But that scripture that comes to mind, like, if God can trust you with a little, he can trust you with a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, and just for me now, being present in the moment that you're in, like, just being in and understanding that if God hasn't put you there yet, it's okay. Yeah. It's for a reason. He knows what he's doing. And that's why, I guess, that's why we don't look to other people or look to the left, because God knows what he's doing with you and this season and this time. And so definitely exactly what you're saying is what I've learned is just it's okay.
Yeah.
God is
Yeah.
great regardless of what you think you want. And sometimes
Yeah.
he has to
that's
also
good.
he also has to you know when we say, "Oh God, I want your will."
Yeah.
Sometimes what we desire, he knows that's not what we desire. That's our flesh desiring it. But once he's done the work that he needs to do, that's not what we will desire.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah,
understand?
yeah.
So sometimes we're pushing for something, but it's
Yeah.
like, no, just let me do my work.
Yeah.
Let me work on you. And I think that's the part that most of us don't like. It's the inward things that no one can see.
Yeah.
We want the things that everyone can see to show, oh, look what God's done. Look what God's done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's like, no, let me do the inward. Because when I do the inward work, when the outward stuff come, you'll be ready for it. And not only will you be ready for it, you can handle it.
Yes, your
Do you understand?
character.
Your character
What is your
can handle
character
it.
saying? You know, and that's why they say pride comes before a fall. And who can be prideful? People that have a lot.
It's when
You know?
that's what when I had nothing, like I said to you, all I
Yeah.
wanted was stability. I said, God, just give me stability. Just give me, that's all I wanted. When I think back, all I wanted was just a home. And I got that and so much more. But yet it's like, that's where oh, I've got this now and I've got that. And I like, and then and that's what I'm trying to say, the enemy, if I look back then, I would never have thought that was what was happening. I would have told you, no, I give God the glory. But it was small. It's like, oh, well, and then people will tell you, oh, you're amazing and what you've done and what you're doing and then it's like, yeah, well, and then now it's a bit harder to do certain things for God because it's like, oh no, but I don't want to give that up. I don't want to, oh yeah, but if I do that, then but it's like, no, remember when you was willing to give everything just to see God move in your life, and now it's like you think you've become or you think you've arrived, and now you think, I don't know. As I'm saying, it's not like I thought, oh yes, I'm taking the glory, but it was happening.
It was happening subtly.
Subtly.
If we want to be honest with ourselves, and I'm sure many Christians go through this.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be a new job. It might be a new house. Maybe you've just jumped into a new salary band. You know, a lot of Black people are now jumping into the middle class.
Yeah.
So we're now, our tithes have increased. If you pay your 10% or whatever, you know that whole my previous salary or what I'm paying, what I'm giving to church was my previous salary. So we're starting to, see ourselves as, high and mighty.
Yep.
And it's so interesting because this season of the show, idols has been a theme.
Okay.
Like my last 3 guests, including yourself.
Yeah.
And I have a story as well that I've shared about like idolatry. And even as you're speaking, I'm also like being inspired by the Holy Spirit to understand that you yourself can become your own idol.
You yourself can become, especially when you've prayed for things and it starts to happen. And even when I was going through it, God would always tell me, get down and give me the glory. Remember. And I would, but then it's like I said, if it's only, that's what I'm saying about the way God does things. Because now I'm very scared of, so like when people say, oh, well done, Kat, I'm like,
yeah, you start to become scared of the glory. I always say that when you understand certain things, you will run away from the pastoral position. This marriage that a lot of Christians I was about to say idolize. Oh, this marriage that we idolize, you will run away from it when you realize the responsibility of all these platforms and
when you
all these things.
You understand how, like I said, how fickle it can be. It now I'm much more wary, if that makes sense. Whereas before, I thought I had arrived when I think about it now.
Yeah. That was really good. We've kind of touched on some of the challenges, but I wanted to kind of ask, what are some of the challenges and rewards of balancing like a public persona, but also having a private life? Because we don't share everything.
Yeah.
It can look like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But what's it like balancing? And then are there any rewards? Are there more challenges?
Okay, so I think I'll start with, I think the rewards for me, they're similar to what they were before, if I'm honest. But I think having a platform allows you to speak to a lot of people at one time. Whereas a lot of the time, like I said, I've always been a person that wants to encourage. I've always been a person that wants people to see that how they start doesn't mean to be how they're finished. I think I've been through a lot of pain. So for me, it's like to see someone, to be able to speak to someone and see them in pain, but be able to share a word that will encourage them for that week, for that month, for that whatever. That is just something that I love to do. So when I was able to do it, and then it not just touch one, but it can touch 1,000 by just one message. To me, I think that's it's like, God looks.
Yeah,
It's just easy to share, or
Yeah.
like, and again to say, especially more before, just about to share that it's only God, it's only God, it's only God, and then I think that was a reward for me. I think even just the things that it opens up for you, being able, like, just doing different things, experiencing different people. I'd say that those are some of the rewards. I think some of the challenges is more, I think, you to be on social media and to last and to have it not be affect you, you've got to know who you are in Christ. I think you got to really be grounded, because otherwise you're always going to be thrown to and fro, because people are always going to speak something you're not, speak something they think. And if you're already struggling with that, struggling with your self identity, I just think it's one day you're going to be doing this, the next day you're going to be doing that, the next day you're going to be thrown here. I think that's probably the main challenges that I find. And now I think I was really open. Like you said, you're not going to say everything, but I do think I said a lot, maybe too much. I feel like now, and again, like I said, the enemy, he'll wait. He doesn't mind. He's a thief. He's a liar. He doesn't mind waiting. Like, especially when you're doing great things. That's even what I was speaking to a friend today. I said, like, there's something about being lukewarm. And I said, when you're being lukewarm, and then the enemy, like, you're basically 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's like you might go to church and you're praying certain prayers, but you're still dabbling in his camp. He's going to just be messing you up. Like, when you're still doing that, it's like he is going to make sure that, because he can, because he's allowed, you've given him an entrance to steal, to lie, to cheat you out of all different types of things. But and you're going to church and praying powerful prayers. It's either, that's why I feel like God's like, either go over there or stay over here, because you're going to be over here praying things, and then the enemy's just going to be laughing, because he knows he's already been able to steal from you. So I just think the challenges for me was understanding how to be private, but still be able to share. In a way that people can resonate with, because sometimes I find being private, I'm like, I don't know what it's about hiding. I feel like, is it me, if I'm not saying everything, am I being honest or authentic, or my authentic self? But I'm starting to understand what authentic is, and what privacy is a lot more. So I think I'm more private, because I just, I'd rather not the whole world.
I do think as you mature, you realize there's a difference between being authentic and oversharing, and just learning the balance. You know, and also as the Holy Spirit sent me, you know, because, you know, a lot of us Christian creatives, I do believe we're called. I'm not saying that we're like pastors or fivefold ministry or whatever, but we're touching lives in a way, and because we're Christians, ultimately there's going to be that witness of the gospel.
Exactly.
So it's like, has the Holy Spirit sent you to say that? Like, and even in this season where I'm not uploading as much, I'm always asking God, are you pleased? You know, that episode might have had a lot of applause, but were you pleased? This is where I think, like you said, maturity. I think maturity brings you to this space where, like you said, I think we're in a time where you can do anything on social media to blow up. Do you get what I mean? But are you pleased, God? Do you like what I'm saying? Okay, I can go and share this and people can really relate to it, but is that what you want me to do? Is it even covering my family? Do you understand? Like, am I sharing too much that's opening me up to things I don't even want to be opened up to, if I'm honest? Do you get what I mean? So I think, that. Sometimes I have to be careful though, because I feel like that can make me sometimes want to say nothing. As well, and not talk and not share and not, but just keep just being led by God. He would lead. If you ask him, I think he leads. So I think there's also like spiritual warfare that comes with sharing sometimes, and again, God knows when you're ready for certain things to come your way.
Gosh.
Like, you know, like there's some, like you said, there's some things that you wouldn't have opened yourself up to if you had just hush just hush for this season.
Please.
Maybe the next season.
And that's the thing. What people don't understand. Sometimes it's just time to shush. Like, let people think whatever they want to think. Let people just, please. Because I had even when before I got divorced, I had loads of people, like, not loads of people, but there was a woman of God. I'm not gonna say just because I don't know, but she messaged me and she really like said some things and like cover your family and pray in this season. And I was just like, yeah, maybe it's not for you, but God's doing something with my, that's what I'm saying, the pride, my sharing, and when I share, but I should have took heed, because I feel like God was talking in that season, like, girl, you need to get into your prayer closet, cover your, rather than, like I said, it's not, if you're doing it for like, even in terms of consistency, what does that mean to God? Does that make sense? In terms of what it looks like to people. Sometimes consistency for God is you just being obedient to what he's saying in this season. And then the next video, he could use, we know how God works. You could be thinking, I need to be consistent for the views.
For the algorithm.
For the algorithm. God is above views. He's above algorithms. He's above, do you understand?
Yes,
so it's like,
yes.
chill.
Yeah.
That's the thing as well with me. It's like, stop thinking stop trying to be, I don't know, in control of everything. You're not. I am, like he is. So that's for me now. I'm just like, okay, God, I hear you. Because every time I don't, and every time I think I move above, like in front of him, you would just, everything will collapse. He will silence me nicely. Like, there you go, girl. You thought you knew more than me, and you don't. So
it's about really learning how to move at the pace of grace. Not the
Oh,
world's pace.
that
No,
was all the
trust.
pace.
I'm telling you, this is a season that God has been telling me to sit down. So this is something that I'm going through as well. The pace of grace,
regardless of what it looks like.
Yes,
because I think we always think about what it looked like.
Yeah,
God is great. Like I said, even when the time when he gave me the platform, I'd been wishing for a platform, doing everything that I could do to get a platform for ages. But when it's God's timing, when he says, "Okay, I'm ready," He will do what he needs to do. It's just, so now I'm just like, okay, God, should I go? Like, are you ready for me to go? Should I speak now? Is this the season for it? Okay, am I ready for it?
Amazing. Now I want to go into a little bit more about your creative style, and like its relationship with your faith as well. Do you ever feel like you face or do face any judgment within the creative, within the Christian space, or amongst women of faith, based on your style of expressing fashion, based on your style of music,
everything?
Just everything. Like from what I can see, you have a personality as a Christian, which, sometimes Christians, we speak in Christianese. At one point in my Christian faith, when I first began, I thought, like I've cracked modesty. But again, like as probably most, especially curvy Christian women, it's hard to win.
It's hard to win.
In modesty politics, it's very hard to win.
I feel like now I'm like, it's okay that you wasn't perfect. That you didn't get everything right. And I think that's where I'm okay with it now. I'm like, I haven't got everything right. I've made some wild decisions. But I think if I knew better, I would have done better. I didn't know better.
And we don't really have fun. Obviously, like, within limit. I'm not saying go and start doing everything. There's a scripture that says not everything is beneficial or expedient. This was an amazing episode with the amazing Cassie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring this invite and coming on the show. You've been so amazing. Before we go, where can we find you?
So I'm Cassie Amelier, I think, on everything now. Cassie Amelier on YouTube, on Instagram. I'm not really on YouTube at the moment, so we'll stick to Instagram. And to be honest, my TikTok is just my Instagram. I'm just trying to do one platform at a time. But Cassie Amelier, spelled CASS. I'm sure you'll put it up. So Cassie Amelier.
So check her out on all her platforms, guys. Do make sure you like this episode if you liked it. Share with your friends, comment below on the things we spoke about, and subscribe to this channel for more. Until next time, guys, peace and love. Peace and chunks.
I love that.
Bye.
Chunks of fashion.